Alright guys, I'm going to try to be brief in my full review for the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. Been using this phone straight through for exactly 14 to 15 days with my main SIM card in here. Just running it down the mill. I'm using it full time. This is the daily driver for the last 2 weeks. Now, while I do have my U11 and other phones, I had to move them aside just so I can really test this phone straight through. Now, I will be switching back and forth between devices, now that this period is over. I'm actually using my Axon 7 right now as a daily driver. Got to give it some love, got to keep it warm. But the Galaxy Note 8 is a device that you hear a lot of people say, oh, it's in a class of its own. Reality, folks, reality check, it's just a smartphone. But it's a smartphone that has a few more features than the next phone. And really, let's call out those features. It's got an iris scanner. It's got the S Pen. It's IP68. It's got a heart rate monitor. And it's got a 6.3-inch quad-inch display. What else makes this phone stand out? You can find out. You can call out your own reasons. But in the end, this is just a very big smartphone with some few added touches to it. Now, I'll be honest, it's not an S8 Plus with an S Pen. It's a Galaxy Note. It's very familiar to the S8 Plus or the S8, period. Same software, you just have the S Pen suite. You've got the iris scanner, you've got the Samsung Skin, you've got the waterproofing, you've got the same cameras. These cameras you have two 12 megapixel cameras with optical image station on each one. But I've matched these cameras against several other phones, and they're actually fantastic. So not to drag this out, let's get into what I don't really care for too much about this phone. So first thing is accessories. Like this screen protector I have on here, I like to keep a screen protector on my devices. I like to keep it in a case when I go outside. But in order to put it into that case, the screen protector has to be case friendly. And in a lot of situations I've found, screen protectors are not case friendly when there's this plastic kind. The tempered glasses are case friendly, but they're not very good. This is a good screen protector. It's a glass feeling screen protector by Whale. This thing is nice, feels good, but it's not very case friendly. It peels up when I put it into a case, which is a huge downside. So having a curved screen on both sides or just one side period, it's a bit of a headache. The next thing I'm not too fond of is the price. And realistically speaking, you shouldn't be fond of the price either. Those people that are walking around saying, oh, it's totally worth $930. I'm balling out of control. I can afford this. Don't listen to those people. Stay within your budget. OEMs charging, a ton of money for a device is getting a little ridiculous. So the price of this phone, it's $930. Okay, so let's be honest. There's some promos out there. There are some promos, but what happens when those promos go away? What are you going to do then? You're going to have to buy the phone if you really want it at the full cost. That can hurt some people. Some people say, well, if you can't afford it, don't buy it. It's not about being able to afford it. Some people really literally can't afford it, but most people probably can. There's a lot of options out there to buy this on a carrier. That doesn't mean you're not paying $930 or whatever the price is. You're still paying the cost. They're just breaking it up for you and allowing you to pay for it over a 2-year period. Now, financing phones was cool to me at first, but I try to avoid doing that at all costs. If in fact I have to get a phone on a carrier, I get it, I pay for it. That's just me. But the price, the curved screen, the slippery back. I mean, look at the fingerprints don't really bother me because those can be wiped off. But it's a slippery phone, and while I do keep it in a case for the most part, I'm forced to almost put it into a case when I go outside, because if you drop this thing, it's probably done. I'm a tall guy, and it's probably finished if it hits the ground in the right spot. Whether it cracks on the back, the front, the angle, it could crack. It could crack. So another weak point on this phone for me, and again, we're talking about this phone. Don't bring up other phones. The front camera. The front camera is not the strong suit of this phone. I was hoping that it would be really, really solid. I was hoping for 4K recording, or at least a 4K recording on the front. But you get 2K on the front, but it's just not the same, So it's just something that I wanted. I thought for sure they were going to do it. I also was hoping that they would give us 60 frames per second and 4K on the rear, but instead Apple stole that show and they brought that first on the iPhone 8. and 8 Plus and iPhone X, Pen, whatever you want to call it. They get 4K at 60 frames per second. That's just unheard of, man. That's crazy. But those are some of the lower points of this phone. Also, the speaker on the bottom is not the strongest, but it'll do. You do have headphones in the box that are tuned by AKG, and those headphones sound really good when used with this phone. It's just what it is. So check the boxes here of the things I'm not too fond of. I'm not too fond of the curved screen when it comes to my accessories. I'm not too fond of the slippery body. I'm not too fond of the front camera. I'm not too fond of the speaker on the bottom. With that being said, I'm sure I'll find other things that I'm not too fond of. Like when it comes to reviewing a smartphone, I'm sure I'll find some things that I'm not too fond of over time. But for now, those are the things that stand out the most. Now, some highlights for this phone definitely is the screen and media consumption. HDR10 compliant. I put up a video on how to watch HDR content on this phone, the SA Plus and the G6, and all phones that are pretty much HDR compliant. You can watch it on these phones, and it is absolutely fantastic. But none of them really can touch this Galaxy Note 8 screen. It's squared off. I mean, the media consumption when viewing it like this, it's just freaking amazing. It's crazy how nice this screen is in person, especially the HDR content. I use the iris scanner to unlock the phone with everything, or facial recognition, primarily the iris scanner, but I flip back and forth between that and facial recognition. The fingerprint reader is another one that I guess I kind of dislike. It's up too high for my taste. But I knew it was like that before I got it because I had the S8 Plus and the S8. The S8 is actually pretty solid for that, but the front camera, it's decent, but the rear cameras are boss. Recording video with this thing, the audio quality is off the hook. It is off the charts. I mean, you don't even need an external mic when recording footage with this phone. It's that good, whether the wind's blowing, whatever it is. Any situation I found myself in with this particular phone and I was recording video footage, first thing is, it was boss. I mean, the 4K, the 60 frames per second, the 2K, any type of footage on the rear camera from this thing is fantastic, along with the audio. It is just great. I mean, it is freaking awesome. That is a huge plus. So the cameras on here, boss move, Samsung. You did your doggone thing. The screen, totally awesome. Iris scanner, loving it. I mean, there's a lot of high points on it. Another thing that's good about this phone is the battery. Now, some people complain and say, oh, they're using old technology. They use 2.0 quick charge. They were trying to play it safe. The fact is, I can pull down 6 to 7 hours of screen on time with heavy use. And then if I use this for like a day and a half or 2 days, I'm getting between 5 to 6 hours of screen on time, closer to 5. But that's actually really good because I can take this phone in for a couple of days and get between, let's just go down to 4.5 to 5 hours of screen on time. I guess that would be a little bit more realistic. But I've actually gotten over 7 hours of screen on time with about 20 hours of usage. So that's actually really solid. This battery life is sweet. I don't care about the technology that they use. I don't care about any of that stuff. I think Samsung did a fantastic job with this device. Straight up, it is a boss move on the battery. Whatever they did, I'm satisfied with the battery life. I don't have to charge this phone every day, and I have to charge it at the end of the day if I have a heavy day. But in that heavy day, I got at least 7 hours of screen on time. So that's fantastic. It's totally possible with that 3300 milliamp hour battery in there. Now, this phone has a lot of features in the suite of Samsung software. I haven't touched on the S Pen because the S Pen itself is kind of what makes this phone different and eclectic than other phones. You'll hear a lot of people say, oh, it's in a class of its own. Like I said, it's just a big phone with extra features that are exclusive to this phone and very useful, I might add. So it turns out that I actually use all of these items right here in the S Pen suite that Samsung had up there by default. The ones I put down here, I added down here, I don't even use them. I just go to those apps when I need to. But I definitely use a lot of live message. If you follow me on social media, you'll know that I use a lot of live message, screen write, screen select, all the notes. I use those like crazy. But, after that, you can get into drawing and doodling. But I use it for those. I use these. I do a lot of screen write and screen smart select I do a lot of those. And also I use the S Pen for when the screen is off. I pull it out and take notes down. Very, very useful. The S Pen, you can go find full tutorials of the S Pen. You can find all kinds of stuff when people giving you a full tutorial. Definitely hit their channel if that's what you want to see. But I can tell you that the S Pen suite on here is absolutely fabulous. It's very useful if you decide to use it. If you don't need the S Pen, I'm not going to tell you to go out and just buy an S8 or S8 Plus anymore. I got to stop saying that because you might want this bigger screen. You might want that beautiful squared off body compared to the rounded body on the S8 and S8 Plus. It might be your preference. They're still all expensive, but I would say if you're going to go for one, this one has 6 gigs of RAM in it, which is a first for Samsung in the US. And I think it might be helping. I think that might be a good thing. A lot of people wanted 6 gigs of RAM on the phone in the US, probably for all the wrong reasons, but it's still here and the phone runs good. Software on this thing is Samsung's UI, their personal UI, and it's actually pretty solid. I haven't had any problems. I do that little test that I used to do on the S8 where I go into the apps and it will stutter. So you can see here, it's not doing that. So whatever Samsung did, they optimized the phone very well, and I'm pretty happy with that. Now, with that being said, some people might ask, would you recommend this phone? And I'm going to say, what are your needs? What are your needs? What do you need this phone for? Because if you don't need this phone, there are a ton of options that you could go with that's in the Samsung suite and the Samsung family. But if you're a person that you feel like you're going to really bang out that S Pen, I mean, that would be the only reason I would tell you to get this phone over something else in the Samsung family is the S Pen, and that beautiful squared off display, the body itself. This is a big phone. It's even though you have HDR compliance on the S8 and the S8 Plus, it's just not the same as it is on here, because it's just something about that squared off body. It feels better in the hand almost. It's just weird. It's one of those things where you just got to get it and see what I'm talking about. But overall, folks, the experience with the Galaxy Note 8, you might ask, well, do you recommend it? Again, I'm going to say, what are your needs? Do you really need the S Pen? Are you really going to use it? Are you buying it for media consumption? You choose. But it can be recommended for a bunch of different reasons. But I will tell you that if you're going to ask me, what do I rate this phone? I used to rate phones in my reviews a long time ago, but a while back, I wouldn't give this phone a 10. I would give it a 9.5 because of little small things like the fingerprint readers in the spot that I don't want it to be in. This is a very tall phone. I would still would like a flat version of the Galaxy Note. That would actually be pretty good, but I know they're not going that way, so I'm going to stop asking for that. They're going this route. So the edge display, you do have the edge display. I disabled it for the video because I was doing some screenshots and things like that. And if you have it on, it's going to pick up the little white bar right there. But I do use the edge display. And in the edge display, I use the dual apps. I think the dual apps are super nice. I keep phone open, I think, and maps when I'm driving or something like that. And you turn it this way and it's actually phenomenal. It's very useful. There's a lot to like about the Galaxy Note 8. But when I try to do a review, I try to do it on real world testing of things that I'm going to use it for daily. I don't use Bixby every day. I'm going to give you a review on Bixby. Eventually, it's coming. I also have a video up on how to disable Bixby with the last update from Samsung. They pushed that out. It's not me telling you to go purchase anything anymore like the other video. You don't have to do that anymore. So you can disable Bixby if you want to. I did disable it. You can't do anything with it now. But I can tell you that the experience with the Galaxy Note 8 has been nothing short of amazing. It's a phenomenal phone. It's not for everybody. It's not a business phone. I hear people saying, oh, it's a business phone. Or you hear people saying, oh, it's in a class of its own. Listen, I'm using the phone. It's just a phone. It's a phone that has more features than another phone. That's it. And also, mind you, it's probably got features that people just don't use or won't ever use. So my response to people who keep saying, oh, it's a business phone. I was at the event. They didn't market this phone as a business phone. They pretty much told Note users, hey, we know what you like. We're going to give it to you. It has DeX. but the S8 Plus and the S8 can use DeX. So there's nothing that's really separating this phone to make it seem like it's a business phone, like some people try to imply it to be. Listen, folks, this is a huge phone. And most of the people that are buying this phone, they're not business owners. And they're just regular people who like a big screen that has the S Pen suite. That's it. Fantastic cameras, not the top cameras on the market. I mean, but it's still fantastic. I can rate this phone easily at a 9.5. But yeah, again, my opinion on that, that's how I feel about it. This isn't a business device. This is for anybody who wants a huge phone with a lot of features. And Samsung's giving it to you. Big ups to Samsung. This is a huge plus. But a 9.5 for me for the Galaxy Note 8. It does have its setbacks, with the cameras and the body and the curves and just a few things I named out that I didn't like. But those are really petty to a lot of people, and it don't even matter to people. But if I'm the user of the device, respect that, and I respect your opinion on how you feel about the Galaxy Note 8. But for now, this phone gets a 9.5 out of 10. That's actually pretty good. This is a beast of a phone. It's a big phone, though. It can definitely stand for some improvements. I want 4K recording on the front. I want 60 frames with 4K on the rear. I want little small things like that. The front doesn't have to be in 4K 60 frames, but at least give me 4K on the front and improve this camera. I don't know if it can be improved with a software update, but it's definitely not the strong suit of this phone. So it's your man Jay Will, a detailed review in my style of doing a review for the Galaxy Note 8. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. The Note 8 isn't going anywhere. You'll see it in comparisons and things coming up. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Leave a comment down below if you feel like I missed something, or you want to ask a question about something in my experience. Leave it down below, and I'll be sure to try to answer it to you for you as quick as possible, because comments come in 100 times. 100 comments every 5 minutes, it seems. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned for more. Take care.